All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville to order. This is our regular meeting of Tuesday, April the 2nd. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by invocation by Chaplain Reverend Tyrone Stalling, and then a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chaplain Stalling.
May we bow our heads. O merciful God, our Father, the Savior that has told us that we should pray and not faint. We come approaching your throne of grace, O Heavenly Father, knowing that you're the author of our faith and you're the giver of all good and perfect gifts. We pray tonight, O Father God, that you would give us divine direction. Direct, O Father God, our mayor and this Board of Aldermen. Be with them, O Father God, in their decision making. Bless, O Father God, our chief of police and the police department and all officials of the Starkville city, O Father God. For we need you and we can't do anything without you. And Lord, we want to do all to your glory. For you are worthy of all of our praise. So Father God, be thou within us, be thou, O Father God, all around us, that we will be about your business. This we ask in Jesus' name, and everyone said, Amen. Amen.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chaplain Stallings. All right, our action items will be, the first order of business will be approval of the official agenda, including consented items, and I do have one item that needs to be removed from the agenda. It's item 11B2A, which is the sarcoidosis walk. They have not gotten their proof of insurance yet, so that will be removed from the agenda at this time. Do I have any other changes to the agenda or the consent agenda?
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Alderman Miller, yes.
Thank you. Mayor, I'd like to respectfully ask the board, under Department Business, B, Community Development, number 2, Planning, that we move items A, B, and C to right before Mayor's business.
Okay, we've removed item A from the agenda. That was the one we just...
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yes, so item B and C?
B and C, yes, ma'am.
All right. Any objection to moving items B and C to before Mayor's business? All right, seeing none, we will show that those two items, to reconfirm, it's going to be 11B, 2B, and C will move to right before Mayor's business. So it will come in between our public hearings, which we don't have any, and then Mayor's business. So any other changes to the agenda or the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the official agenda with the consented items or the agenda as modified in the consented items.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Motion from Alderman Little and second from Alderman Miller. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. All right, and I will now read the consented items. Under item 4 would be approval of the Alderman's minutes. It's item A, consideration of the minutes of the March 15th, 2019 work session of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville, Mississippi. B, consideration of the minutes of the March 19th, 2019 meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville, Mississippi. C is consideration of the minutes of the March 26th, 2019 meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville, Mississippi. Under Mayor's business, we have consideration of a large $150 advertisement for Miss Starkville program. 3 is consideration of a $125 full-page advertisement for the NAACP 50th Annual Freedom Award Banquet Program. Under Board Business, we have consideration of the approval of any of the aldermen and the mayor to attend the Mississippi Municipal League Summer Conference beginning June 24th, 2019 and ending June 27th, 2019 with advance payment for the conference reservation and accommodations with advance travel. Vice Mayor Perkins and Alderman Little will not be in attendance. Under Airport, we have request approval for Airport Board members and Airport Director Rodney Lincoln to travel to Natchez, Mississippi on May the 17th through the 19th, 2019 and attend the Mississippi Airport Association MAA Conference. Under Fire Department F, we have one request permission to allow Chief Charles Yarborough to attend the 82nd Fire Chief Conference held in Vicksburg, Mississippi, May 30th, June 2nd through June 2nd, 2019 with advance travel not to exceed $382. Under Human Resources, we have item 1, request authorization to advertise for 30 seasonal lifeguards in the Starkville Park and Recreation Department for the 2019 pool season. 2 is request authorization to advertise for 3 seasonal customer service representatives assigned to the Starkville Utilities Department. 3 is request authorization to advertise for a utility locator technician in the Starkville Utilities Department. 4 is request authorization to advertise for 2 part-time receptionists for the Finance and Administration Department. 5 is request authorization to advertise for firefighter positions in the Starkville Fire Department. 6, request authorization to advertise for 3 seasonal maintenance workers in the Starkville Parks and Recreation Department. 7 is request authorization to advertise for a part-time receptionist in the Starkville Park and Recreation Department. 8, request authorization to hire Shy Link, John Sharp, and William Tomlin as part-time groundskeeper workers for the Airport Department. Grounds maintenance workers for the Airport Department. Number 9 is request authorization to hire Ms. Martin as a radio operator dispatcher in the Starkville Police Department. I am so sorry I botched that name. On parks, we have number 1, request permission for Gary Logan to attend training April 22nd through the 24th of 2019 in New Orleans, Louisiana, that is required by the National Recreation and Parks Association NRPA Walmart Rural Communities Healthy Out-of-School Time Meal Grant Program with advanced travel not to exceed $1,000 to be fully reimbursed by the grant. 2 is consideration to authorize the purchase of a 12-foot spiral freestanding slide from McKee Park to include surfacing and installation in the amount of $14,059.86, the lower of 2 quotes with donation of funds from Junior Auxiliary as presented. Under the Police Department, we have item 1, request authorization to allow Sergeant Josh Wilson to attend a firearms instructor course in Holly Springs, Mississippi on April 29th through May the 3rd, 2019 with advanced registration and lodging. 2 is request authorization for Officer Kenya Bibbs to attend a DARE class in Montgomery, Alabama, May 20th through the 31st, 2019 with a total registration cost of $1,499. Under Utilities Department, we have request approval from Madison Smith with the Electric Division of Starkville Utilities to travel to Nashville, Tennessee to attend the Line Design and Staking 3 class on April the 16th through the 18th, 2019 with advanced registration, meals, and mileage. Total cost for the trip is expected to be $2,113.75. Number 2, request approval of the lowest and best quote from Parks and Parks Water Well Service for the repairing of the Parkdale well motor in the amount of $6,375. Number 3 is request approval of the lowest and best quote from Coburn for Phase 2 of the approved Pleasant Acres water line purchase in the amount of $9,950. Number 4 is request authorization for Starkville Utilities to initiate task order number 4 with Volker for the design of the brush rotor assemblies at the wastewater treatment plant at a cost of $37,200. Number 5, request approval for Starkville Utilities to post a customer's privacy policy online to be in accordance with requirements for our iOS app. Number 6, and last but not least, request approval to advertise for sealed bids for the Bluefield Well Rehabilitation Project. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor.
My pleasure, Alderman. Thank you. And next we go to announcements and comments, and there are a couple of things that I want to go ahead and make an announcement about. The status of our legislation, the House Bill 1565, which was passed by the House with a vote of 100 to 4, and passed by the Senate by a vote of 51 to 1, is now sitting on the governor's desk, and my understanding is that the governor will have, his deadline is tomorrow to either sign or let it or take some action on it. And if he takes no action at all, it becomes law, and if he signs it, obviously it becomes law. So our lobbyist, Mr. Elliott Flaggs, has said that he has every expectation that the governor will be signing it tomorrow, so I look forward to that good news. And I also wanted to provide a little bit of an update on the landfill. I provided that at the work session, and basically we are in line. We have submitted our annual report to MDEQ, and we are waiting on them to bless that annual report and that plan for closure. And we anticipate we will commence work and be done if weather permits, and allows us to do so on a fairly short timeline by the end of this year, and that's the goal. So those 2 items I wanted to make sure I reported on again. I also wanted to let you know that current plan, we have 2 houses that will be burned by the fire department as part of their training exercise and as a part of the citizens' opportunity to let the fire department have that training exercise on at Yellow Jacket, and then one on South Jackson Street, which all have been considered dilapidated and or we're going to move forward with it. But it was kind of fun. They went in to burn the one on Yellow Jacket and found that their buzzards had taken up residence in there and had 2 chicks. Is that correct, Chief? Yeah, they had, and apparently, I had no idea, but apparently buzzards are endangered species. And so they had to get the game warden to come in and remove them. They're supposed to be gone now, but there you have it. So we'll be burning it on Friday. But I just thought I'd share that little novel piece of information with everybody. So I have no further comments. Does anyone on the board have any comments? Alderman Sistrunk, I see your hand.
I would like to say a public thank you to the Junior Auxiliary for their help in replacing the big yellow slide at McKee Park. We have some very generous organizations throughout the city, and Junior Auxiliary has frequently stepped up to the plate and helped with things at the parks, and we appreciate their efforts.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Public comments? All right, seeing none, we'll now open it for citizen comments. Now is the time when someone may come forward, speak to the board. You have 3 minutes, which is timed, and this is not an opportunity for us to speak back and forth unless the board chooses to do so for some reason. Normally, this is a one-way flow of information. So you have 3 minutes to provide us any information that you would like, concerns, comments, or otherwise. So, Mr. Turner.
Good evening to the mayor and board. My name is Adam Turner, Ward 7. To the mayor, to the vice mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
To the police chief, to the NACP president, Yolanda Hay, Susan Cummings. We have a very dangerous, I guess you would call it pothole, Kroger, and it's very dangerous, hard to dodge. And the same thing at the intersection of it lost me there. Sorry about that. Reverend Tarver, all right, it's very heartbreaking that we will mistreat a reverend, but let's try and respect the man of God. He is asking for relief. All right, let's treat the man of God right. The death of my brother, will be, my brother will be deceased this coming April. My father, he will be 51 years old this coming April. I was 9 years old when he passed. My brother was 6 years old when he passed, and the baby was crawling. But there were just some concerns of still.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Anyone else like to come speak to the board?
Good evening. My name is Shelley Clanton. I'm over the sarcoidosis walk. My sister was here replacing me for the meeting about 2 weeks ago. I was out of town on a personal leave. To my knowledge, I don't think she told me about the insurance. I mean, I was going to get it in the morning, but I don't remember her telling me I had to bring it to this meeting. So I'm asking if I were to get it in the morning, it would be too late for me to continue to have the walk, which is April the 20th.
The next board meeting is April the 16th, so you should have plenty of time.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Chris Taylor, Ward 7, concerned citizen. I agree with Alderman Perkins' 100% article this morning. Not 100%. It should be across the board. It should not be across the board pay raise. The minimum, if I'm not mistaken, was $10 an hour. Is that right, Madam?
Yes, I believe that's correct, precisely, $10 an hour.
Right. And if minimum is 10, then you should target that pay raise. The workers need a pay raise, cost of living. And if you were to reconsider the way you're doing it, it would be perfect. The military did that for years. Sergeant Major General, sure, your department head can make money. But that low man down there on the garbage truck, busting them pipes when they bust in that hole in the trenches, $10 an hour with 2% pay rate or 3%, that's either 20 cents or 30 cents more. That's either $1.60 or $2.40 more a day. I think they deserve more. So really, 100%, they need a pay raise, and I agree with them. It needs to start next year. I know y'all doing a different budget, but consider that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Anyone else?
Good evening, everyone. Mayor, Vice Mayor. I'm Paige Watson. I'm here tonight representing Junior Auxiliary of Starkville, and I just wanted to say thank you again to Alderman Sistrunk, and just let you all know that we were very eager to pass this funding for the new slide at McKee Park. We're excited about it. We hear it'll have a quick construction, so just want to say thank you, and especially to Mr. Logan and the rest of the staff at Parks and Rec. So we're really excited about the future of Parks and Rec, and we're eager to jump on this opportunity. So thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are y'all doing today?
We're good.
All right. I'm Anicia Luby, Mayor of the Starkville Mayor's Youth Council, and here with me I have Andrew Carlisle and Alexandria Gray from the Mayor's Youth Council. And we want to first say thank you to all of you for giving us this opportunity to serve on the Mayor's Youth Council. We absolutely all enjoy it. And we also got a chance, we've been doing a good lot of community service. In fact, we had a bake sale. We had a bake sale last Saturday, and we definitely enjoyed that. It was at Blue 22, and that was just a good way to just get out and just, give back to our community. And we're also having a pancake breakfast this Saturday from 7:30 to 9:30 at Applebee's, and it's $5, and it's just a way to come out and enjoy pancakes and fellowship with everyone else around you.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Glad you're enjoying the Mayor's Youth Council. We
Yes,
appreciate y'all being part of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor,
Thank you.
and the aldermen and women of our city of Starkville. I'm Marcia Tolliver. I know about 4 weeks ago, I came and said, it's been 7 months, it's been 6, but now it's 7 months since we've been out of our home. I asked that you take time out and reconsider the city taking liability. I don't know what was told or how it goes, but for some reason, it's like we all know that there's problems with our drainage in the area, especially being one of the 3 areas that we have funding to correct. And seeing the houses west of me, because I'm on a corner of Utah and Choctaw, on the news about the drainage, then saying, well, we don't know that there is a problem in the area. I don't know what it will take for you all to understand the position the city has placed me and my family in, but it's very uncomfortable. It's disrespectful as a citizen to be going through this since September 5th. A lot of people asked a lot of questions, and I try to stay calm when I answer. When I just tell them no, they didn't do this, no. I'm asking you all to consider. Not just say, well, I considered I'm through with it. But honestly consider, soul searching consider. I think I mentioned that before. I thank you, Alderman Miller. You did come by as a neighbor, not as an alderman, because you came because from within. And I appreciate that. And I thank you for doing that. But is it going to take the hand of God? We don't want that. We want us to be a community, working together, doing the right thing. Is this justice for me and my family when it's not our drainage line that was messed up? I don't think so. Please, take time and reconsider. Thank you all.
Mayor, may we recognize?
Vice Mayor?
Ms. Tolliver, good afternoon. How are you? Let me make a few remarks. And of course, this subject property is in Ward 6 in the Rolling Hill subdivision. And just want to make a few respectful, and professional comments. And these comments are not designed to be considered as my giving any legal advice, because I cannot give legal advice, particularly here, sitting in my role as an alderman and vice mayor.
Yes, sir.
I do want to make some comments purely in my role as your alderman. I want to make some comments just to respectfully encourage you and your spouse and other family members about this particular matter. And let me say this before I go on. I'm just doing this to protect myself, because I'm not speaking for the mayor, the board, the city of Starkville. I'm just speaking in my individual capacity. So I'm not speaking as an agent or representative or servant for the city. And let me say this, and my training requires I say this. Are you and your family represented by an attorney on this matter at this time?
Yeah.
With that being said, let me make a couple of further comments then. It is my very respectful recommendation as your alderman, and certainly I wish you and your family the best, but when it gets to these matters of this type and kind, there is a Mississippi Municipal Service entity that handles any and all matters that relate to this. So I want to respectfully encourage you, as my being your alderman, that you and your husband should immediately, promptly, and expeditiously explore all of your options. I'm hearing you every time you come here, but just remember these words. In April, in May, for the rest of this year, these are some important words I'm telling you. Let me say that again. I'm going to say it, I'm going to close, and I'm going to yield. Mr. Tolliver, I'm saying this, I am very respectfully requesting for you and your wife and your family to immediately, promptly, and expeditiously pursue all of your options with respect to this matter. Okay?
Yes.
Mayor, I yield.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board? Anyone else? All right, seeing none, I will close it as citizen comments, and we will move to public appearances. We have one. There's Ms. Prather from the Greater Starkville Development Partnership. From the Starkville Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is underneath the Greater Starkville Development Partnership. is going to present her proposal regarding banners.
Good evening, Board. I have given each of you a copy of what is on the screen, and I apologize that it's not in the packet. This is something that we have actively been working on, and just recently today met with the City Engineers Department and came up with these details. Some of you have heard this already at the work session, so I appreciate you sitting through it again. I'm actually representing the CVB and the Main Street Association, and as you know, the Main Street Association seeks to, and the Visitors Bureau seeks to promote all of the happenings that are going on in our city, not only for residents, but also to draw tourists within our area. We try really hard to diversify the way that we market those so that we reach as many people as possible. And one of the things that we have been exploring is signage. We also feel like there are so many great organizations in this community that are doing great events: the Symphony, the Community Theater, the Arts Council, the Horse Park, Parks and Rec, just to name a few. And what you have before you is a proposal for a banner installation that would go at the entrance to our downtown. We consider Russell Street part of our downtown, and we consider the crossover from the university on Russell Street coming across Highway 12 the gateway to our downtown area. As you know, with the improvements that have been made to Russell Street, that really is our main corridor into our downtown area. So you see a couple of different things. You see a rendering. Please keep in mind that this is just a visual rendering that we have done. This is not the final version of the graphics. This is a placeholder for you to understand what we are conceptualizing. And you will see on page 2 an actual sketch of the banner frame. I know Alderman Bond had asked about some of the materials, and so this shows the aluminum materials and the size that they will be. And then page 3 shows the location of what we're looking at. And I don't think there's a copy of that for the screen, but I have provided you with a copy showing going across from campus on Russell Street. They would sit to the right. We were very careful in meeting with MDOT and meeting with Edward Kemp's office, Cody Burnett, and it will be in city right-of-way. We've gotten the clear from that. We had to keep it 70 feet back from Highway 12 due to MDOT right-of-way to keep it out of the right-of-way and out of the sight lines. Our idea with this is that these banners will rotate all throughout the year. There'll be an opportunity for us to promote the events that we have. Again, the Community Theater, the Arts Council, such as the Arts Festival, Parks and Rec, if you so wish. And there would be a standard so that they would all look very similar. The branding would be the same. And so I'm not asking for any business tonight, but I did want to propose this to you guys, that you would consider it, that I can come back and ask for the city's blessing to go ahead with this installation and allow us as the Convention and Visitors Bureau to be the gatekeeper in switching out the graphics for the city.
Okay. Any questions, Ms. Pfeiffer? I have a question.
Okay.
This is kind of like as you're going in. Was there any thought to doing something on both sides?
So the original
coming
thought,
and going, you get the
if you consider yourself standing on campus and looking down Russell Street, as I've shown you on the page 3 of your packet, the original thought was that it would be on the left side of the road. And one of the reasons for that is we're trying to soften the aesthetics of those big junction boxes that are there. However, when we went out today, there's no right-of-way that we can put them in. It's all within MDOT right-of-way, and they said absolutely not, that federally they can't allow that because of the way that property was purchased. Once we pushed it back far enough on the left side, once we pushed it back far enough to get it out of that MDOT right-of-way, it was problematic with where we could install it, being enough room, and also with sight lines. You run into poles and different things that made it hard to read.
So it doesn't marry up with the square on the other side if you were to do them just across from one another?
Not at this time, no. No. And also, I will point out as well that once we do this, we envision putting some landscaping around them as well, so it's not just a pole sticking out of the ground, just basic, probably shrubbery, and also lighting them. And we're looking at solar lighting for that on the pole, so it's easy to maintain. Those are just conceptual as far as the lighting goes.
Alderman Bond?
One question, is it just gonna be at this location, or you got more location you're gonna?
Just this
install?
location. This project in and of itself, just for the frames alone, is about a $5,000 project. So this is it's a nice product that would have longevity so that it could last. And so this is just a project that Main Street's taken on for this year, and we could look at different areas of the city to put those as time goes on, especially if people really like them. We just think it's a great way for us to show immediately when people come into town the great things that we have going on in the city.
Okay. And y'all, as a Main Street Association, are going to be the ones changing them out and making them match what's going on.
So what we'll do is we'll have the installation, and this is the framework of the graphics, the way that they'll look, and so it'll be very consistent. And then we will work with the organizations like the Community Theater and the Arts Council and other people who have events going on to make sure that all of the graphics are consistent. We have a designer that we use, and so those organizations will work with our designer to basically, it'll be an inset. So the jazz graphic that you see is just an example of something that would be dropped in each time someone wants to promote a new event.
Okay, so you want us to bring it back for a board action at the next board meeting?
Yes, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to ask you guys to put action on it today. I know the mayor just wanted me to brief you guys on what we were planning, but this is the plan, and I can bring it back or whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, Alderman Walker.
Thank you for bringing this. I certainly think it's a great opportunity to look at how do we advertise the events going on in our town. Having said that, I do have a couple of concerns that maybe could be, that need to, I think, one, be addressed. So you're seeing this as a permanent installation.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at the graphics on there, I think the graphics look nice. You're looking at approximately 132 square feet of actual banner, or the total area would be about 225 square feet. Just thinking about what our sign ordinance would be, how that might impact, it seems like that is outside the bounds of what our sign ordinance would normally allow. And thinking about, just again, looking at the graphic of 4-foot by 11-foot banners, definitely going to catch some wind. What's below ground? It says, when I read here, it says installed in soft ground.
So it will actually be poured into, they'll put concrete into a tube in the ground to put it into it, so that it's secure, that it's not going to just blow over. And the banner, we will require that anyone who does this use the same company that we use for all of the banners, so that they're a material that's resistant to weather and has a wind slit, so that they don't push against wind.
Do we think do we really need 3 in one location to get
I
our
think it was
point
just an aesthetic thing. The project kind of came to light on several people seeing them in Jackson when you come across State Street into downtown and you drive over and you see, wow, you know, it just promotes all that they're going on. So just a way to put some neat aesthetics as a way to market it. But we're certainly open to suggestions.
And I would just, and again, I'm just thinking about what it might mean for other ordinances and how that might impact for what other people were thinking. As I certainly think we want to find a way to be able to broadcast and get things out there we want people to see and do in our town. But just also, you know, try to be mindful of what we're not letting other people do as we move forward, and think about how that might be. And I don't know how or what this fits with our ordinance. I think since it's inside the right-of-way, maybe it doesn't fit in there. It almost feels like it doesn't fit within the sign ordinance. Maybe it's almost like billboard-esque, of which we're beginning to address as well. And so I think, you know, I'm not sure. I think it may be, I'm certainly happy that we're not making a decision tonight.
Right.
I think it may be worthwhile to maybe speak with the community development folks a little bit more and see if there's a way to figure out how we might, from both sizing and location, and when you talk about things like lighting and other things, I think that
So our design committee has talked quite a bit with the community development department, and that was one of the reasons they wanted us to open the discussion with the board, knowing that it didn't quite fit the one-size-fits-all for the banner. One of the suggestions that was made was keeping the ability to have a banner. I don't want to use the word exclusive because it's not, but the Convention and Visitors Bureau has a grant funding program where they fund organizations who host events that increase and generate revenue, 2% revenue. So some of the organizations that I mentioned, for instance, and having an application process where those organizations who are identified by the CVB and are receiving funds from the city, 2% revenue, would be able to apply. And again, use the same designer so that it's approved graphics. So there is a gatekeeping process there. And that's why we're presenting it, because it is out of the ordinary, but we do see it as a neat project to sort of increase just the vitality of that core area. So we certainly have some more discussion, which is why we're not asking for business. And we're happy to work with whoever we need to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Alderman Vaughn, I see you smiling down there.
And let's go back to the question I asked you, because coming in on New 25 there, I mean, where you say welcome Starkville, I mean, you just putting it in one spot. It's not gonna do too much advertising, just in one location. That was my concern.
Yeah, I see, okay. Well, I think it's almost like setting a tone, if you will. It's less advertising as much as it is, we got stuff going on and we're a fun place to be.
Right,
but-
and it was just the most
Sure.
visible spot with the limited, we just had some funds that we wanted to do to put something. Main Street Association generates funds from the downtown area, so we were just kind of putting into that gateway area. Given the receipt and people being excited about it, I think it's definitely something, you know, we could put on Lynn Lane and we could put in other areas of the city to get the word out about those type of things.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, appreciate it. We have no public hearing, and the one item we do have, Alderman Little is going to recuse himself. Oh, I'm sorry, David, Alderman Little, please come back. I'm so sorry. I apologize. Yes, the two, I made myself a note, but I was trying to make sure I got him out of the room first. Okay, so we have two planning items. One is the special event request for the Ministerial Association to hold the community prayer walk and have city participation with in-kind services.
Move approval, Mayor.
I have a motion for, not yet, just hang on and we'll see. I have a motion for approval from Alderman Miller. Do I have a second from Alderman Little? Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, by a vote of 5-2, motion carries. And then the second item is a special event request by the Military Affairs Committee and Greater Starkville Development Partnership to hold the 2019 Memorial Day commemoration and have city participation with in-kind services.
Move approval, Mayor.
I have a motion for
Second.
approval from Alderman Little and a second from Alderman Miller. Further discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right, by a vote of 5-2, motion carries. Thank you. Again, I apologize. All right, Alderman Little, exit stage left. All right, thank you. And let me explain why this item is, number one, not on consent, and number two, that Alderman Little recused himself is because his daughter, Lake Little, is Miss Hospitality. And so this is a request for an advertisement for the Miss Hospitality program, similar to the two other advertisements that we did put on consent. But because Alderman Little needed to recuse himself, it could not go on consent for this particular agenda. So this is the same type of thing. We have an opportunity to do a half-page ad for $175, which is roughly the same amount that we did for the advertising for the Miss Starkville and then the NAACP banquet. So I have a motion for approval from Alderman
Second.
Carver and a second from Alderman Miller. Further discussion.
Mayor, I think the motion needs to be clear. We're going to do a full page, right?
I think this was a half page for $175. I was just going by dollars. Do you
Okay.
want to do a full page?
Well, no, I just want to make sure we're consistent. I don't want to show any lack of support for this particular event and this person who's going to be representing this area for Miss Hospitality, whatever the will of the board. I just want to make sure we don't show a distinction here given these other organizations. And so it won't be construed by the public, well, we're giving more a credence to this organization like this. So I think we better give a full page.
Okay, so that friendly amendment?
Yes,
Full
ma'am.
page?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Is that satisfactory? Full page?
Sure.
Okay. And the only distinction I was making, Vice Mayor, just to be clear, was just a dollar figure. So.
Yeah, but I think it would have
I
been interpreted a lot
understand.
deeper.
Okay, so we will do, friendly amendment for a full page ad. Is that good with the? Okay. All right, with that in mind, I have a motion, I have a second with that friendly amendment. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. 6-0. If you would,
Now, one question, is all three of them full pages?
yes, I think that was the point that the Vice Mayor was making. Yes, sir. All right, that takes us to board business. And we have item 2 under board business, which is discussion, consideration, approval of pay raise for city employees. And Vice Mayor, this one was yours, so I will leave it to you.
Mayor, let me just briefly say, we won't have a very lengthy discussion about this. I just want to appreciate all of the comments that have been made tonight about this particular matter. During my almost 26 years on the board, there have always been a lot of suggestions about how we can go about funding pay raises for city employees. And it is my experience it is best to try to get what you can. I know back in 2009, I just had an opportunity to look at those minutes just recently, that there was a 2% across the board pay raise for city employees. And matter of fact, I seconded that motion back in 2009. And it appears that the last raise that has been given across the board prior to today for all city employees was back in 2015, and that was a 3% raise. The reason that I think that this board needs to go ahead and do a raise is because if this raise goes into effect on April the 6th of 2020, it will have been at least 5 years since the last raise. The cost of living is steady climbing. It is steady increasing. And looking at all of the costs, dealing with the costs including the health care, just everyday living expenses require a raise for our employees. I think it's good just to stay with the basics and just to give across the board. We've discussed this over my 26 years about the different ways to fund a raise. And I think we as a governing body should at least approve a 2% pay raise for our employees. The reason I say this, I'm of the old school mindset. Many people may differ from me, but a raise is better than no raise at all. I suggested and respectfully requested my colleagues to support this, and the reason I came up with Monday, April 6th of 2020, and of course I'm sure you know for me to say that there's a reason, because during the first quarter of the fiscal year, it's been said at this table that we are primarily in a deficit because we do not have our primary revenue in from the property tax collection, which is October, November, December. And still in the second quarter, that money is still being collected by the tax assessor office in this county. And I'm very comfortable with a third quarter raise, because what that does is it minimizes the impact on our general fund. So if we approve this 2% pay raise to take effect April 6, 2020, it would have a less than a 6-month impact. And why am I suggesting April the 6th? Because that is the first Monday in April of 2020. And the information that I understand, if we do a 2% raise, it will have a financial impact of $106,500 on the general fund, and it will have an impact on three enterprise funds, about $53,500. Now, the reason I'm bringing this matter up tonight, because I think this is the appropriate time to bring it up. And why is this appropriate? Because as we assemble here, each and every meeting, we as a governing body is making decisions that have budgetary impact. We need to move forward tonight because this will be a placement matter, a placement item. Well, Vice Mayor, where's the money going to come from? We just heard last meeting that we have got to have a good audit. We are financially sound. We have a very sound revenue stream, and I'm not asking to dip into the ending fund balance, and we have come a long ways with the ending fund balance from where we were in 1993. That is very commendable, an ending fund balance of over $3 million. And it's very commendable that we had additional revenue in our budget last year of at least $257,000. It's very commendable that we had a surplus of $545,000. But Vice Mayor, are you committed to fund this pay raise? Yes, I am, and this is why. I'm interested because, number one, our employees is a great asset for our city of Starkville. And I've sat on the budget committee over the years during my tenure as an alderman, and the employees make things happen for us. And without the great work of our employees, a lot of things will go undone. Our employees keep things moving progressively forward. They keep the city looking very aesthetically pleasing to help recruit retailers, to help recruit people to come to our city, to help our city keep growing. And our employees is a face for our city, and they work in many capacities. They go beyond the call of duty, and they get things done. And I think what we need to do is that it's down to a policy decision. We have the money. We do not have to dip into the ending fund balance. We do not have to have a tax increase. We do not have to increase any fees or any rates. The question becomes tonight is, what do we want to prioritize as a major priority? And I'm all in favor of making this pay raise a top priority, and I've done that over the years. It just takes good fiscal responsibility to do that. I know there are a lot of other things, the fire truck and GPSs, but without the employees, the GPSs would be meaningless. They would be without merit. They would have no significance. We just have to do that. Now, we're talking about a 2% pay raise. Well, Vice Mayor, that's not enough. Well, again, we just have to, it's just like a family budget. It's just like a individual budget. We just have to prioritize and spend what we can. I know that we got people on the lower jobs, but something is better than nothing. We're not going to get everybody where they want to be, but we got to be thankful in this world. We have to be humble. We have to be appreciative. I'm old school, whether you like it or not. Be thankful. If somebody give you something, that's what the Bible says. Be thankful. Be appreciative. Maybe you'll get blessed if you just keep staying here and keep working harder. So we have the money. So I like the board to say tonight, and we can do it. We are a great city. We are growing in all areas, including the parks. And as we grow and move forward, we cannot leave our employees behind. And there's nothing non-conservative about this. This is a very conservative proposal. And given my 26 years here almost, it's very rare to see a pay raise to go into effect normally in April of the current fiscal year that the raise applies to. But I think it's a very good idea. And what that does, it frees up money to do other things. And I'm not afraid to make that commitment, because if we make that commitment, let's look at the fact that we do a 2% raise. The revenue that we get from our solid financial base can help pay for that. If we get $257,000 projected like last year, then that's, the general fund is only impacted $106,500. We have the surplus, and we're going to keep that ending fund balance sound. And so hopefully I'll get the support of the mayor tonight on this, the budget chair, and I don't think we need to delay it, because what's going to happen if we delay it, every time we meet, there's a decision that involves spending. And and if we have to freeze some things like new hires, employees, I've done that before. I have the backbones and the strength to do it. If we need to cut something, if somebody else not come with it, I'll make the motion. If we need to cut something, I'll do it. If we need to cut travel or whatever we need to do it and take care of these employees. And I want to do it across the board. Now, if we start just singling out this group at the very lowest, and that brings about more discussions. And then that makes the raise problematic. That's been my experiences. So when you do that across the board, I know the gentleman from 5 that sat next to me in 2009 made the motion. I seconded 2% pay raise, October 2009. October 2015, 3% across the board. 2009 was across the board, 15 across the board. And so the thing about it, if we get this pay raise here and go in effect in April 6th of next year, that will be a separation of about 5 years. That's about the average we do. If we get it this year, so I'll just tell you right now, I'm not going to be supporting another pay raise, unless I get some type of report that's going to be unheard of for, across the board, because we just normally do that probably, I would say, probably about every 5 years or thereabout. And so I think there'll be a good idea, the cost of living. And I was telling someone the other day, I think we have to look at what if we were in the employee's position with cost of living going up? What would we and any other reasonable person want? Would we want a cost of living increase? Yes, we want a cost of living increase. So we have to look at it like that. Just have to be objective, apply the objectivity test, the reasonable person test. So I know there are some other things that probably going to be said here, but before I yield the floor, I'm going to put this motion out here, but if there are other things to be done, we just need to make a commitment. Well, it may be said, well, this is a budgeting decision. We need to have a budget meeting. Well, this is April right now. Pretty soon, we're going to be having public hearings on the millage. We're going to be finalizing the budget. And then all the money's going to be committed. There are a lot of places we can, you would ask the vice mayor where we could find it. I mean, we got it. Without any tax increase. So with that discussion being said, Mayor, I'm going to make this motion, and I make secret recognition back at the end, but I'm going to move that all city employees, and I word it just like that 2015 motion, the latter part of it, I move that all city employees, excluding elected officials, shall receive an increase in salary by 2% effective Monday, April 6, 2020. So restate that, Mayor. I move that all city employees, excluding elected officials, shall receive an increase in pay by 2% effective Monday, April 6, 2020. Before I yield, and that translates, and this is not part of the motion, that's $160,000 and roughly $103,500 impact on the general fund, so that we can fund that. May I yield? And that's my motion.
Okay, I have a motion from Vice Mayor Perkins. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Alderman Vaughn. All right, discussion. Alderman Sistrunk.
I'd like to say that I agree with the Vice Mayor that our employees are our biggest asset. They are what makes the city run, and I agree that we want to pay them and pay them appropriately. We disagree in how we will go about doing that. We are, within the next 6 to 8 weeks, going to be beginning the budget process, where we will sit down and determine what our priorities are. We will look back at the commitments that we have made already. And to me, this is the kind of thing that one does in a holistic fashion. You don't, short of some sort of emergency like the fire truck, where we know that it would take a year from the time that it's ordered to get it here, you don't make these kind of commitments off cycle. You look at them in the whole of the budget process. Even the Vice Mayor is proposing a date that's well into the next fiscal year. So I don't see the urgency of removing it from that holistic overview of the budget. I'd like to say, too, that while it may have been 2015 that we had our last across-the-board raise, our employees from October 17th through October 18th, we had done a market analysis, and all of our employees were brought to a market level. So there have been pay raises since 2015. Additionally, each year, 60 to 70 employees will get what's affectionately known in the HR department as the longevity raise. So they get a 3% raise on their 3rd anniversary, 6th anniversary, 10th anniversary, and so on. So over the course of a few years, people will receive a 3% raise, even if the board does nothing. So I'm saying I agree that we need to look at it. I think we need to look at look at it as part of our overall budget. We need to decide what it is that we want to accomplish with the raise, because I agree with the comment that was made earlier that an across-the-board raise, while it on the surface appears very equitable and everybody gets the same amount, it really doesn't translate that way when you start looking at individuals. And is our goal to raise those salaries of those people at the lower end of the pay scale, get that minimum wage up, or is our goal just to pass along an across-the-board pay raise? But we've not had any discussions about that, and it is premature to do that, in my opinion. I'd also like to talk a little bit about this $3 million fund balance and the fact that we had an excess of revenues over expenses this year. That is primarily driven by the sale of the lagoon. Without that sale of that lagoon, we would have operated at a deficit this year. And so that's a one-time occurrence that is not likely to, I don't know that we have any other assets sitting out there that we're going to be selling that are going to generate that level of money. Of the $3 million in that fund balance, it's not all spendable. The fund balance is not the same as cash on hand. So only about 2/3 of it is available for expenditures. So about $2 million is there that we can use for operations. We do operate at a deficit from October to December of each year as our revenues are at their lowest for property taxes. And over the last 3 years, we've operated at as much as a $1.6 million deficit. So when you net the $2 million and $1.6 million, we would have had about $400,000 of spendable money in that fund balance. That sounds like a lot of money. To me, that would be a huge amount of money. To the city, it just doesn't go very far. When a slide costs $14,000, $400,000 doesn't go that far. It won't pave a mile of road, that sort of thing. So we do have to be cautious about that. We also are seeing play out in real time, not very far from here, the consequences of not making sound financial decisions and not monitoring finances, and we don't want Starkville to be in that position. We don't want to be looking around saying we're going to have to freeze hiring. We don't want to say we're going to have people work 32 hours a week and take a pay cut because we have not managed our money well. So I agree wholeheartedly that we need to look at our pay structure, but I think we need to have more discussion than we're going to have at the table tonight. I think we need to figure out what our goals are with any sort of pay increase, and then I think we need to do it as part of our budget process. That's 2 months from now. We'll be having those conversations in work sessions and available for the public to attend. Board members will be there. It's a much more sound fiscal process, in my opinion.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Alderman Law.
You go back to what you said, I think we're too smart to let the city get in that shape. I think we got a smart mayor, smart budget chair, and I think we got some pretty smart aldermen up here for us to let our city get like that. And you know how I feel about the raise. You know how I feel. You already know. But we sit here and we commend our workers every Tuesday night. What a great job they doing. Sure, the mayor get a lot of calls from the citizens, the job that they doing. And I know, I call them, they there. Any of you call them, they there. Rain, sleet, or snow, they have to go. We give them a little time off during the holidays, but they got to double up after the holidays to make up. But we say how much we love them, what great job they do. We sit here and praise them so much, but seem like every time it comes to this dollar, we start backing up. We just took money from them. We gave them a $10 raise, like you said. Sure, we did. We turned back around and took it with the deductible. If you wanted a $750 deductible, the employee had to pay $90 because I paid. If you wanted the only way that your deductible stay free, you had to have a $3,000 deductible. That's 10 paychecks for him, a person, to make their deductible. That's not fair. And so now here we got an opportunity to make up what we messed up at, really, or to give back what we taken from them. We got opportunity. You know as well as I know, if we don't make the decision tonight, you won't make it. And normally every 4 or 5 years, they get a pay increase. And y'all know well as I know, if we do not make this decision tonight, we're going to find something else to do with the money. You know that. Y'all know it well as I do. I don't see nothing wrong with making this decision because we say we love them so much. You easily can say you love somebody, but you have to show people you love. Love is the action word. You can easily say you love somebody. And a lot of people use that word all the time. Don't bit more, mean a bit more in anything. Say, I love you right quick. If you love me, you will show me. If you love me, you will not hurt me. If you love me, you won't hurt me. If you love me, you're going to help me. Do that make sense? That makes sense to me. And you know as well as I know, if we do not make this tonight, this money will not be there. We're going to find something else to do with this money. Okay? When the executive position come in, 70,000 here, 80,000 there, start off with that. We do not hesitate to hire somebody at end from $60,000 to $80,000. We do not hesitate. We go right to it. This only, how much? Ain't too much. A 2% increase ain't too much. I'm like Vice Mayor. Anything but nothing. Anything. We put hardship on these people when we make them pay for the insurance when they were getting it free. We put all kind of hardship on these people. I understand more now since I'm retired what people talk about a fixed income. I understand more than now about it since I retired. But these people, they ain't got no fixed income. They working. They work, they at the call or duty anytime we call them. Some of them out there 12 o'clock at night while we sleep, trying to unstop somebody's sewage, trying to give somebody some water. We at home sleep, resting in peace. Why we can't make this decision tonight? We say we love them. Why we can't make this decision? Why we got to wait 2 months? We are here to make wise decisions, not foolish decisions. We're here to help, not hurt. I yield, Mayor.
I certainly agree that this is a topic worthy of conversation, especially at this point prior to the budget cycle. And if it's we've got some great personnel, great asset to the city, and personnel expense is also our biggest expense, budgetary. I mean, for most businesses, that's typically your biggest expense is personnel. Cost of living increases continue to go up for everyone. I recognize that. Alderman Vaughn mentioned the insurance, and we've spoken about that on more than one occasion about the potential impact that $3,000 deductible could have on someone at $10 an hour. Some it may not have that big of an impact, but some it would have a huge financial impact on. That being said, I suspect if that topic's going to be revisited in the summer when we discuss budget and review the hospital, the health insurance plan, and where our standing is on that's going to be another budgeted impact if we were to reduce the deductible. It's something we need to be mindful of. But if it's the will of the board to increase and have a 2% pay across the board, then we can make that a priority. But I think we need to do that during the budgeting cycle, and I think this could be a placeholder going forward if it's the will of the board But for me tonight to make that commitment on just a couple of days' notice and start to review this, I think would be not quite as prudent action, and I would be hesitant to do that tonight. But I think it's certainly worth having additional conversation, in my opinion, going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Little, anyone else? No, I'm going to see if there's anybody who hasn't spoken, so I'll get back to you, Vice Mayor. Anyone else who hasn't? Alderman Carter.
While it is unorthodox to discuss this tonight, I do think that, the pie is only so big, and here's 1.2 miles of sidewalk, that's $250,000. Everything we deal with is $14,000 slides and $750,000 for sidewalks, and it's very expensive to run this city. What this would do tonight is just solidify something for our employees that when the budget cycle comes up, and while it is unorthodox to vote on it tonight, it would solidify that small slice of a pie is taken care of. So I see both sides of it. I'm not saying I vote either way tonight. I'm just going to say that it kind of was rushed through. This was something on the work session Friday. I didn't have any data at the time. I saw some data come through this weekend that we were able to look at figures. And but anytime we can, I do agree that in any organization, especially local municipal government, that your employees are your greatest asset, and we've done well, I think, over my term up here, and the vice mayor's longer than I've been here, but a lot of salary inequities have been addressed. I do not think our staff is here all the time for the pay. I don't know that our pay is equitable. I know you said it from a market analysis standpoint, but they're here because they love the city, and they're here because it is good benefits. That we do lose people from time to time because other surrounding areas and cities and municipalities pay better in some instances. But this board has done, in my opinion, done a lot of good for the employees over the last, especially 6 to 7 years. I've seen a lot of employees come up and just say thank you for what y'all have been able to do for us. We understand that there's never enough money, in the local government, but this board has done a lot. I think anybody watching right now or here in the audience would know that we're up here arguing because at the end of the day, we all care about the city and care about the employees. But just know tonight that if it was voted on, that it can be voted on, and what it would do is just solidify something for the employees where, in all honesty, it's going to make it harder for all the other decisions we have to make from from an unexpected fire truck purchase to all the other things we have coming through the pipeline. So it doesn't make it any easier if you vote on this tonight than the other things, and the pie is only so big. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to close this out. There have been some comments about sound financial decisions.
I'm sorry, about what?
I have the floor, Mayor.
I understand. I wanted to make sure I was.
There's been some discussion about sound financial decisions. It is my opinion that there's nothing unsound about this. It is all about what the majority wants to do at this time. I want the employees and the public to know that we have the money to do that if this board wants to do it. It's all about what the desire and the flavor is. It is okay to spend $100,000 on one employee's salary, including benefits. It is okay to spend $71,000 on one lawnmower. But when we talk about the workforce, we got to wait to the budgeting process. We got to wait to the budgeting process. You didn't hear one word about waiting to the budgeting process when there was some discussion to spend almost $100,000 to buy one lawnmower for one department in this city of Starkville. The motion was made, so moved. Second, the motion passes 5-2. Driven in the ground. Yes, it was 5-2. Was that a sound budgetary decision according to the Vice Mayor? It was not. You just want to spend the money the way you desire, then, what's unsound about this? As the gentleman from 7 says, if you don't make a decision tonight, then it's very likely that these employees will not see a pay raise for this upcoming fiscal year. and I hope that I'm wrong. What is the basis for the delay? We smart enough to figure that out, in my opinion. And I hope I'm proven wrong. I believe that the basis for the delay is that there is no appetite or flavor to give a pay raise. You know, talk about doing something at a work session. The public does not have an opportunity to even speak at the work session. Want to wait until the budget cycle. Every time we meet, it's the budget cycle. It was the budget cycle in February when we hired an employee of almost $100,000 a year, including benefits. It was the budget cycle when we voted to spend $71,000 for a John Deere riding lawnmower. We're not going to be cutting grass on the White House lawn. You know, employees, let me say this for a year. You have the support of the vice mayor. You come in, you do a great job, but yet they want to punt this football down the field. And I'm not in favor of that because I see how this is being played out. I do not mind making it a priority. I do not mind making this a tough decision. It's all about what is wanted to be done. What is the delay of waiting? The purpose of waiting. What is the reason for the delay? We're into April now. I mean, 30 more days. We trying to get this passed tonight so it can be a commitment just like we have done other things. I never said about getting anything at the ending fund balance. We don't have to bother the ending fund balance. We don't have to increase taxes. We don't have to increase fees. It is about good budgetary process, about good budgeting. I understand how that works. It's getting to a point that there does not seem to be a desire to do this. If there was a desire to do this, what is the reluctance about approving this pay increase? I didn't ask for a 5% increase, didn't ask for a 4, didn't ask for a 3, didn't ask for it to be effective October the 1st of 2019, didn't ask for it to be effective January 1, 2020. Man, this is as conservative as you can get. If you don't call this sound conservative decision making, what is it? It's certainly not no liberal decision making. There's nothing liberal about this. This is an ultra-conservative motion on the floor. If you want to defeat it, you're not taking money out of the vice mayor's pocket, just hurting the employees. This is about the employees. That's why when I came here tonight, I said I just love this job. I love it now. I'm going to love it when I leave. May stay here another 26 years. Who knows? I just love it because I love fighting for the people. Because that's the right thing to do. You know, these employees, imagine if we were sitting out there where the employees were. We want to cost of living? Every one of us would, in my opinion. That's my opinion. May be wrong, but that's my opinion. I'm entitled to that. I'm entitled to my opinion. I'm entitled to speak because I'm elected to say what I want to say. So, employees, just hang in there. I'm going to keep fighting for you. I might keep getting outvoted, but that's nothing new. I've been outvoted ever since I've been up here, since '93. I'm going to keep fighting. I'm a man of faith, man of strength, man of backbones, man of knowledge and wisdom. I'm going to continue to do that. So when I'm long and gone, and people will remember that I gave the best of service. I don't worry about no numbers. I don't worry about who's going to vote against me. I do what I think is right. As long as I'm doing what's right, regardless of what the numbers are, I don't worry about numbers. Numbers don't turn this world. It's doing what's right. But, you know, so when this motion gets defeated, employees, don't keep your head down. Just keep working hard. Just keep working hard. When this motion gets defeated and seemingly 5-2 tonight, don't worry about it. You got somebody on your team here. And we're going to fight together. We're going to keep moving together. But, you know, but when these things come up about voting for the 1% for the parks, they want everybody to get on board. They want a 7-0 vote when this 1% gets signed by the governor tomorrow. They want all of us stand in front of City Hall. Yeah, we for the 1% for the expansion of the parks, but when we ask for something, we cannot get the support. What type of togetherness is that? None, zero. So, employees, just keep hanging in there. We're going, we're going to keep fighting for you. Hopefully that my colleagues, my distinguished colleagues, are going to prove me wrong on this race. If they prove me wrong, I'm going to shake each one of their hands. You know what I'm going to tell them? I'm going to say, thank you. I sure appreciate you. Old school talk. Thank you. They're my friends, but I got to say what I got to say. I mean, I enjoy working with everybody at this table. I know they get tired of listening to me, but we just a family up here. We just a family up here. I love everybody at this table, but the vice mayor going to say what he going to say. So when I'm gone, you going to know I'm gone. So, Mayor, I'm going to say that, and I'm going to yield this floor to my mayor, just a few feet away from me, and thank you very much, Mayor.
You're welcome, Vice Mayor. I saw Alderman Sistrunk's hand, and then I saw Alderman Bond's hand. Alderman Miller, you have not spoken. I'll come back to you. Alderman Sistrunk, and then Alderman Miller.
I want to say that this has nothing to do with trying to deny our employees a fair and reasonable salary. That is part of our task. Through this year, either because of board action or things that have come to us from other agencies, we have about $400,000 of new expenses next year that we're going to have to cover. 160 of that is going to be our fire truck payment. 110,000 is going to be PERS benefits that when they increase the rate, the employer contribution from 15.75% to 17.4%. There's 3 months of that built into this year's budget. Next year we'll have to have a full year, and that's going to be about $110,000. There are other things that we've done that we've committed to that add up to about $400,000. That's a lot. If we tack on this pay raise without considering any revenues, and I'm very glad to hear that we're not looking at touching the ending fund balance, we're talking about $500,000. It is not realistic to think that our revenues are going to go up that much this coming year, which means we're going to have to find somewhere to cut $500,000. And I'm going to pick on Chief Nichols because his numbers are big and they're easy to do math with. But the police department and its ancillary groups like animal control and the dispatchers account for about 25% of our budget. So if we know going into the budget that we are not likely to have additional revenues, that we are going to have $500,000 of new expenses, and we turn to you and say, you've got to cut $125,000 of your expenses to make this budget work. Is that going to be easy, Chief? And he doesn't have to answer. I'm putting him on the spot. Like I said, his numbers are big and easy to do math in your head. So it's the reality. Yes, I hope we will consider a pay raise for employees. I hope we'll revisit the health insurance now that we have a year's, or once we'll have some experience with it. But it needs to all be looked at as a whole, not just one bit here or one bit there. And that's all I'm asking, is that we look at it as a whole as part of the budget process.
Thank you, Alderman Sister. Alderman Miller. I'm sorry, Alderman Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I just felt the need to address what I think is an important topic tonight. I just wanted to start off by saying that I absolutely commend the Vice Mayor and his comments and willingness to bring this forward tonight. I also commend Alderman Vaughn and appreciate his comments as they relate to healthcare and the deductible. I fully support the idea behind giving raises to employees, especially even the percentage that the vice mayor has proposed. I do agree, though, with the citizen who came up earlier, Mr. Taylor, in gearing our pay raises, if this is something that we want to do moving forward, trying to gear it towards the folks who are making that $10. I do agree with that, and I appreciate those comments as well. The biggest thing about the vice mayor bringing this to the docket tonight and having something to say, I read the newspaper article as well as was mentioned tonight, is it challenges us. It is a challenge, as are all of the budget decisions that we make here in the city of Starkville. And I appreciate that. I think on the deductible, Alderman Vaughn, that is something that I am completely willing to revisit. I think sometimes when we get up here, I can only speak for myself, we can be bounded in decision-making in terms of policy. Sometimes we make policy decisions and you're not able to fully consider all of the impacts of policy. You just can't mentally do it. And sometimes when you make policy decisions, you see those negative policy effects. And so I do admire and respect the fact that Alderman Vaughn is bringing that to our attention. In terms of and it's something that I'm very willing to have a conversation about, and something that I am very willing to discuss further, amend, or even make a change on. In terms of the motion in front of us and in what the vice mayor has proposed, it is difficult for me to make a decision and to support this tonight. Mainly because, and my reason is because certainly any of us could make the argument that it is important that we make this decision during the budget cycle. Certainly it's the will of the board, and the vice mayor is correct when he says we can make this decision outside of the budget cycle. There's nothing that says we can't. What truly makes me uncomfortable with making the decision tonight, along with any item, both budgetary or any other item that we have, I feel uncomfortable making a decision tonight because I feel like I haven't been presented enough information to make a proper and well thought out decision. When I received my packet for the meeting tonight, there was only a cover page that stated the item being pay raises across the board for city employees, which I think is great. But that cover page had no supporting documentation that would allow me to make a proper decision tonight. I did receive some more information today, but as we're talking here, I work from 8 to 5, so my eyes did not cross any supporting documentation until about 4:30 this afternoon before I came up here. So in terms of making a decision tonight, the general concept is great. And like I said, I commend the vice mayor, and I am willing to be challenged to continue to provide more benefits and better benefits to our city employees. Everything the vice mayor said tonight, Alderman Vaughn, the other aldermen have said is totally correct. I think we're all on the same page about what we think about our employees. It's just the process of how we support our employees. And so what I would offer is at some point in the near future, is if I could be provided some proper documentation, something that shows me either what Vice Mayor Perkins is talking about, perhaps what our budget chairman, Alderman Sistrunk, is talking about, and I'd be more than willing to come to the table and make a sound financial decision, just as we talked about tonight, just as I would with my home budget. I wouldn't make a decision on a budget item at my home without having documentation to support that budget item. And so with that being said, I just thought it was important because this is a very crucial and important topic we're talking about tonight. And I think something that we all think deeply about. And I wanted to be able to speak on it and state that because of those reasons, I'm unable to support the motion tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Vaughn.
Go get Jason. Go ahead and get Jason then. I'll tell you
I'm
what
sorry.
I mean.
No, that's okay.
Alderman.
Thank you. And I agree with what people have said tonight, that there's no question that our employees are our most important asset. And finding a way to get a 2% raise in this upcoming budget cycle is, I think, something that is a worthy goal that we should look for. I agree with Alderman Miller that more documentation to help see how we're going to get there is important. And on a lighter note, I would like to correct the record. I believe when I'm going to not call it a lawnmower, but I believe it was more of a tractor. When that vote was here, I was out of town, so it wasn't a 5-2. I don't know what the vote was, but it certainly wasn't 5-2. I wasn't here for that. But I would say that item, along with the executive position that we just hired, I think one of the distinctions that I would make from what we're talking about now is that both of those items were essentially budgeted in the budget cycle. We were prepared to be able to have that money. One was just a replacement of an individual, and the other was money that was already built in for that management and maintenance of repairs. And so I see this as something very similar. I couldn't agree more with what Alderman Miller had to say in terms of documentation and being able to get there. I disagree with the Vice Mayor in the sense that if this doesn't pass tonight and if it moves forward, I would like to feel that we can find a way to potentially have a raise for the employees this coming year. But tonight it's going to be hard for me to vote for that without seeing some of the bigger picture and where all the money that we have committed. Because what I would hate to do is come right down to it and say, we've got all these things, and then the citizens are going to say, yep, we're going to have a tax increase, and then we're going to have to back up and say it wasn't a tax increase to pay for the pay raises for the city workers. It was a tax increase to pay for this or that. I think in order for us to have a better, well-rounded argument for how we are going to deal with the budget, we do have to know what those new expenses are going to be. We have to have a better idea of what those additional revenues or uptick in revenue might be, so we can plan accordingly. And I do believe that having a placeholder in place is a relatively good idea. I'm just not willing to make that decision tonight. I think another little bit more documentation and a month down the road, I might be there. I certainly believe that our employees are our most valuable asset, but I can't vote for that tonight, and I'm not going to. Thank you.
Two things, Mayor, then we're going to vote. Jesus said, love you one another the way I love you. He told his disciples, love one another. And if you love one another, you can be my disciples. The motion is on the floor. You got a second. Let's vote.
Well, I'm going to take a point of privilege because I'm the only one that hasn't said anything. So I'm going to take my opportunity to do so, and then we will certainly move for a vote. And while it would be my greatest pleasure to agree with the Vice Mayor on all counts, I can certainly agree with him that our employees are absolutely our greatest asset. There's no question about it. They set the tone for the city in the sense that they greet and meet and take care of all of the details that come with the day-to-day operations of the community and of the city. And while I think the Vice Mayor has the best of intentions, just like I think everyone else up here does, in my 20 plus, and Vice Mayor, because you say 26, I had to count my years of experience in government, and mine are, I'm kind of getting on up there. I've got 20 plus years of experience in various forms of government, either appointed or elected, and so What I have determined from that is that governments often take what I would consider to be the easy route, and that is they do what they've most often always done and they're very comfortable with. And while I think that an across-the-board increase is an easy way, I don't think it's the proper way to make those decisions. I believe it's incumbent on the leadership to take a more measured and deliberate approach. And by that, I believe that the salary study that we did a couple of years ago was the proper way to assess the pay scale on each and every employee position that we have in this community, or in this city, excuse me. And I think that every 2 years or so, that's something that we should continue to do. Now, do I think that time is right to do it again? I think it is, because I think it was a couple of years ago. So I would like to see us bring that process forward. And my philosophy on this is basically that you have a salary range that goes with a job. You know, the job has whatever the value is, and then in that value you determine the person. If the person has a great deal of experience, then you put them at the top range of that salary. Or if they have longevity, or if they have that education that goes with it, you put them at the top of that salary range. But as much as I would like to think that there is parity in all jobs, there's not. An attorney is always going to make more than an administrative assistant, for example. A doctor is almost always going to make more than, well, a nurse, but maybe not so. I don't know the medical field that well, but you understand what I'm saying. In essence, that each job has its own value. So from my perspective, I think it is much better that we adopt the approach of a salary survey to determine where our positions are in this community, and that we make those distinctions and those differences as we calculate what our pay scale will be. Now, to say that doesn't mean that I don't think that they deserve a raise, but I don't think that everybody deserves a raise unless we analyze it and it says that. But I do think we should have a minimum wage. If we've raised it to $10, I would like to see that increase. So my goal would be for us in this next budget cycle to look at that lowest realm and make that adjustment to reflect a minimum base wage that I think is more appropriate and a more living wage. And I would like to see us do that. Now, having said that, I think there's another issue that a 2% across the board, or any across the board pay raise, is inequitable, in my opinion. And Mr. Taylor alluded to it, and I pulled it out and I started looking at it. Our 2% pay increase given to the lowest paid employee, which is the $10 an hour, for a year would be $208.24. You divide, $208. You divide that by 24, which would be the number of pay periods, and you get just enough probably to get a Big Mac and some fries and maybe a drink. It would be about $8.67 a pay period. I don't think that's equitable with someone who, at the highest salary in the city, would be making $1,065.17 divided by 24 would get $44.38 a pay period. I don't find that to be equitable. I think that 2% across the board is not an arrangement that serves the best interest of our employees, and I would not like to go that route. And to echo Ms. Sistrunk, Alderman Sistrunk, I also believe this is not a prudent or timely fiscal move. We are just a month or so away from our budget meetings. There is no rush to do this. It wouldn't take effect for a year. And so in our budget meetings, I think that with a determination that a pay increase of some kind for the employee, all those things need to be visited. And I think between now and then, Mr. Ashford could probably put together a salary survey that gives us better information from which to work. I don't want to see us drawing down our ending fund balance in any kind of way, because I think one of the things that is inures to our benefit, the city's benefit long term, is our show of fiscal responsibility. It keeps our bond rating up, and it keeps the relationship and the comfort level in the city and the city's leadership high. And I don't want to see us go down a road that would cause any of our residents to feel as though, business or personal residents, to feel as though we have done anything to compromise our fiscally prudent approach to our budgeting. So, having said that, we have a call for a vote. I believe we'll do this by roll call. So if you would please answer the city clerk, yea or nay as she calls your name.
Alderman Carver.
Yay.
Alderman Sistrunk.
Nay.
Alderman Little.
Nay.
Alderman Walker.
Nay.
Alderman Miller.
Nay.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn.
Yay.
All right, by a vote of 4-3, motion fails. All right, next item on the agenda is discussion of consideration of a variance request. Mr. Haviland?
VA 1906. This is a parcel located on the north side of Lynn Lane, approximately 1,700 feet west of South Montgomery. The applicant, 4JILP, is in the process of subdividing the current lot into 2 lots. Lot 1, as it's labeled on the screen, is in the process of being sold for future development. Lot 2 will be retained by the applicant for future sale for development. The proposed subdivision of the lots trigger the requirement that a 5-foot sidewalk be placed from lot line to lot line along Lynn Lane. I've illustrated on the map with the red dash line the approximate location of that sidewalk. Any sidewalk constructed prior to the final plat could be potentially damaged by future construction activities. A bond on any uninstalled sidewalk would have to be supplied by the applicant and would remain in effect until the certificate of occupancy is issued, at which time the applicant would no longer own the property. The applicant is asking for a variance based on financial hardship of either having to construct the sidewalk prior to the sale of the property or bonding the sidewalk until the properties are fully developed. The applicant has provided a cost estimate that is located in your staff report as attachment 3, sidewalk variance application notes. On March 27, 2019, the Board of Adjustment and Appeals voted 6-0 to recommend approval of this request. On the screen now is the requirements for granting a sidewalk variance as found in section 98-60, and they're also in your slide, staff report.
Okay, thank you. Is applicant here?
Representing the applicant's not here.
Okay, and you identify yourself?
Jason Pepper with Pepper Surveying.
Thank you, sir. Okay, at this point, any questions from Alderman Walker?
I just have one. So looking at the requirements for the variance, it says that the variance can only be granted if the estimated cost of the sidewalk construction is more than 2 times the average rate per linear foot. Is the documentation as presented in the staff report, is that what those numbers are showing?
Yes.
When you add it up, that it's basically 2 times?
Yes, correct.
Is that what
It's
we've
over 2 times, yeah. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Anything you wish to add? I neglected to ask you.
No, I'll answer any questions, but
Okay, all right. Any other questions of any board members?
Well, not a question, but we've had a situation like this, seems like came up not too long ago and similar to this, if I remember.
on the Petty's property.
Is this
yeah.
something that's going to be addressed in the code rewrite? Is this wrong? It seems like this should fall on the developer or
It was
builder.
kind of missed with the original adoption of the ordinance. It didn't take into effect somebody who is subdividing land for development. There is another trigger for the sidewalks. Once this land applies for a site plan and then building permits and starts constructed, they will be required to put a sidewalk at that time. It's just the actual subdivision of the land is what's triggering the requirement right now.
That's what I was thinking. Move approval, Mayor.
Okay, I have a motion for approval from Alderman Little. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Walker. Further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries 7-0. Okay, next item on the agenda is consideration of approval of prioritized Highway 12 sidewalk project and authorization for the city attorney to advertise, city engineer, sorry about that, to advertise for construction bids for the project. And you brought your very long map with you.
I did. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. And what you have before you in your packet is, first of all, let me back up. For those that weren't at the work session, what we've done since the last time we presented this plan is we went and studied all the segments along Highway 12, starting at Stark Road and coming all the way east to Spring Street, and tried to evaluate the sections that were either missing, those that would be feasible, those where there may be an improvement across an intersection. And what we've done is we've evaluated all that, and you can see those on the maps. Everything in pink is what is existing, and everything green is what is proposed in one of the sections that's included. Now, we presented at the work session the totals from A through K, I believe it was. And starting A would be at the far west and working our way east. And that total was around $750,000. In this project budget, which is the remainder of the Boulevard funds, we have somewhere in the round of $260,000. If you wanted to supplement that with an additional $25,000 from the ADA/sidewalk funds, that would obviously get it up to around $285,000, $290,000. And so what we were trying to do is prioritize that $750,000 number down to something that could fit within our current budget allocation. And so you'll see that on our prioritization cost here. Some good discussion came out of that meeting on Friday, and we wound up adding in there section I, which is the vowels to Ruby Tuesday section, the cost of $49,000, and we also broke up section J into two parts, A and B. And so only A is now included in the prioritized listing. What we're looking for tonight is just authority to advertise, to basically proceed to finish the construction documents of these top prioritized list of projects, to advertise for bids. And once those bids get back, we will obviously come back before the board and we can make some decisions on, which projects ultimately we want to choose, if we want to supplement the project budget, et cetera. This is just to go out and see what the prices come back. We do feel like on that prioritized listing that I have, that subtotal is $390. We do feel like that number is going to come back less than that because there's some contingencies built in, but we don't exactly know how much that will be. So at this time, that's kind of what we're looking for. And I'll be happy to answer any questions about the project, the rationale, or anything like that as well.
Do we have any questions?
Well,
Mr.
that's
Kemp?
what I was asking.
Oh,
Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Do we have 285 and do we need to shave 100 off of that 390?
Well, yes. So we presented on Friday a number around 340, and then we added another 50 to it, so we're up to around 390.
So how did we come in already at 340? I mean, that's 50,000
Well,
over.
because we have a 20% contingency built in, and if the bids come in favorable and we don't need that contingency, we were very close to the 285, 290 range, which is what our budget is.
Any other, Alderman Walker?
Mr. Kemp, I'm certainly willing to move forward with this, and then when the bids come back, to see where we are, and if we have to make some decisions about something that's on that prioritized list that now becomes not a priority to make the money work, I think we're all willing to do that. The question I have is just in terms of the bid. How do you see the bid going? Do you see each one of these segments of sidewalk being an individual bid, or do you see there being lumped together? How do you see that process playing?
We've talked a little bit about this. I think the way that we'll go on this is we'll probably bid it all together as one package. I think you get an economy of scale from that. There's also some overlapping things like traffic control from one segment that could be carried over to the next. And if you break it up, then you may have duplication of that. So that would be my recommendation. I think it's just much more efficient. What I would probably say is we would have some additive alternates on that bid to where we can remove and replace if needed. So you can kind of pick some a la carte things at the end if you need to adjust it based on budget constraints.
Thank you.
Okay, and I do want to be clear, as I mentioned in the work session, regarding this set of funds, this pot of money, this is not the city's money in the sense that this is not coming from the general fund. This is an earmarked amount of money that was dedicated to Highway 12 and Highway 12 only. It was MDOT funds that were earmarked in the legislature, and we have been able to work with MDOT and our Commissioner, Mike Taggart, to get sidewalks as a part of the improvements on Highway 12. So I just want to be real clear that this is not coming out of the general fund. This is an earmarked set of funds for Highway 12 and Highway 12 only. So, Alderman Carter.
just the same thing I said Friday, section H and D, I think, in my personal opinion, which are the big section in front of Green Oaks. So if somebody's accessing any type of downtown area, that gets them onto an impervious surface, they can basically access grocery stores, sporting goods stores, anything of that nature. And then secondly, the one that's from the discussions we had Friday, the one that's from the pawn shop to Vowels, I mean, I think that's the same between that and a combination of the smart bus pickups. That's opening up the biggest, 2 blocks of travel. So they can, I'm satisfied if those two make the first cut. I mean, I know you've got it on a prioritized list, but
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to be pushing for, those two.
Okay.
And then the
Yeah,
Spring
and
Street, I think we spoke about that.
And then we talked about on Friday as well, I'm sorry.
No.
I was talking about, to your point, if you go out and look at all these segments, those two that you just mentioned are the ones where the path has been beat down the worst, or the most, I should say. All right, anyone else, anything further? All right,
Mayor, I move approval.
I have a motion.
Second.
A motion from Alderman Walker and a second from Alderman Miller. Further discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries, it's unanimous. All right, next item on the agenda is the claims docket.
Move approval.
I have a motion
Second.
for approval from Alderman Walker, and I heard Alderman Little first with a second. Further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
By a vote of 5-2, motion carries. We have next the request approval of the 9/30/19 budget amendments. Presentation that either city clerk or Alderman Sistrunk want to make? Anything you want to highlight at all?
They're very routine, just recognition of revenues and adjustment of expenses that have changed during the year. There's nothing noteworthy, I think, in there.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Alderman Sistrunk. One second.
Second.
Second from Alderman Little. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, unanimous. And that concludes our meeting. We have no executive session, so I will take the privilege of calling for the work session. In accordance with the notice required in Mississippi Code annotated 254113, Board will be having a work session on the 12th of April, 2019 at 12 p.m. The meeting will be held at City Hall, second floor conference room, 110 West Main Street. Public and media are invited to attend. Notice shall be provided to the work session within 1 hour of this meeting by posting such notice at City Hall, and the work session will be made part of the notice which shall be made part of the minutes of the board meeting. The work session will be open public meeting in the city of Starkville. Public and press are invited to attend, and it is always streaming on Facebook Live. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A motion from Alderman Sister on the second. Alderman Miller. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.